As a huge fan of Batman the Animated Series who considers it to be one of the greatest television shows of all time, it comes to no surprise that I adore the adventures of Batman and Robin on the Super Nintendo. It remains one of my favorite superhero games ever made. No other video game based off this series managed to encapsulate it as well as this game did, at least in my opinion. There were ones released on the Game Boy, Game Gear, Sega CD, and even Sega Genesis. The Genesis one I hope to get to someday, but none of them hold a candle to the SNES one. It's a classic, iconic in every sense of the word. Simply put, The Adventures of Batman and Robin is a beautiful game, and immensely faithful to its source material. Its graphics, visuals, and music put you right into the Batman mood, and make you feel as though you are playing one big interconnected episode of the cartoon series. Each level is loosely based on specific episodes of the show. Some even take inspiration from several, which is really cool. Level 1, Amused to Death, is based off Christmas with the Joker, with Batman being forced to traverse a funhouse and take on a giant robotic nutcracker soldier. It even takes some elements from Be a Clown, with the final confrontation between Batman and the Joker taking place on a roller coaster. Level 2, No Green Peace, is inspired by Eternal Youth, with Batman facing off against Poison Ivy and her Demetrite-spraying goons. The final boss is the plant monster seen at the end of Poison Ivy's debut episode, Pretty Poison, as well. Tale of the Cat is based off The Cat in the Claw Part 1, with Batman's rooftop chase with Catwoman, as well as Cat Scratch Fever, because the title card of the level is basically identical to the one used for that episode. Perchance to Scream's title card is also similar to the one used for Nothing to Fear, and the events of the level itself feature a blimp used to disperse Scarecrow's fear toxin just like in the episode 2. Mind you, Scarecrow's design in this level is the second one he had in the show, and Nothing to Fear was his first appearance, when he looked a lot goofier. That has more to do with when this game entered development though, so you can't blame them for that. Besides, it doesn't matter, and this design for the character looked so much better. The Riddle Me This level, featuring Edward Nygma, the Riddler, is based off If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich, and has Batman work his way through the maze of the Minotaur, culminating with a battle against the Minotaur to save Commissioner Gordon. You also face off against a virtual version of the Riddler, just like Batman did in the episode What is Reality? It has the chessboard and everything. And finally, the Gauntlet, the final part of the game, takes inspiration from the episode Trial, where Joker gathers all the villains to take out Batman, in this case, Penguin, Scarecrow, Clayface, Catwoman, and Man-Bat. The final confrontation with the Joker has him fly around on a jetpack, just like he did in the feature-length film Mask of the Phantasm. My favorite level in the game is the one featuring Riddler. Though there isn't any voice acting, of course, this is Super Nintendo. This version of the character, voiced by John Glover in the Batman animated series, is my favorite incarnation of the villain outside of the comics. The Maze of the Minotaur is a perfect setting for a level in a video game. Seeing as it was a video game itself in the show, it's quite fitting. I think it's easily the most compelling sequence of the game, because it has you solve various puzzles and riddles to reach the center of the maze, many of which are taken straight out of If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich, which add to its charm. Many of the riddles are pretty self-explanatory and easy to figure out, but the one that has you enter the letters HB for human brain is a bit cryptic, unless of course you're familiar with the riddle itself, or have watched the specific episode of Batman the Animated Series the riddle draws from. The battle with the Minotaur at the center of the maze is a joke, and I could beat him blindfolded. All you have to do is dodge his incredibly slow attacks, make him walk to either side of the screen, wall jump over him, and get a bunch of hits in, seeing as he's so fucking slow. Rinse and repeat. That said, the final Riddler boss that sees him controlling chess pieces, a king and a queen, is a hell of a lot harder. It makes up for the easy Minotaur fight. Not only do you have to memorize their patterns, but you need to be careful where you let them drop down. The space you have at your disposal to dodge them depends on where that first one falls, and you can't jump over each piece either, by the way, so think a few steps ahead. It's easier said than done though. Despite my sheer admiration for this game in basically every way imaginable, it isn't without its issues, and man, do some of them suck. For starters, the Scarecrow level has him gas multiple civilians that run at Batman, believing he is an enemy. If they get too close, they grab you and hold you down until another criminal can run up and punch you or shoot you, whatever works for them. There are even sections that have toxic gas raise and lower, and these fear-induced civilians prevent you from ducking, causing you to take damage. The length in which they hold on to you seems very inconsistent. I don't know if there's a specific way to get them off or not. I just tend to mash buttons or spam the roll, but it doesn't seem to do anything. The civilians are fairly easy to avoid, you just need to jump over them, but if they do grab you, prepare to lose most, if not all of your life, each and every time. It's annoying. You might as well just take the controller from me for like 20 seconds. It's the exact same thing. Near the end of the Scarecrow level, you have to swing your way under the blimp using Batman's grapnel gun and smash through its window. Sounds easy enough. But no, it's pretty awkward using the gadget, and you'll find yourself falling to your death quite a bit. At least I do, multiple times. There are a few sequences in this game that utilize the grapnel gun, and every time it just feels awkward. Your timing has to be so precise, and it seems to have a mind of its own in terms of where it latches onto. Again, I might be doing something wrong, but I think they could have implemented this gadget a lot better, in all honesty. The Poison Ivy stage has you go up against her female goons, and you'll find that you can't punch them, only stun them using your batarangs. In fact, the level doesn't even let you punch at all. For the longest time, I always wondered why this was the case. Why can't you punch with Batman here? Well, I think it's because they're women. Simple as that. The game developers probably wanted to avoid releasing a game that has their hero beating the shit out of the opposite sex. I don't blame them. It's a bad image for kids. Look, mommy, I knocked her lights out. Yeah, not good. But easily the worst aspect of this game has to be the level featuring Two-Face called Trouble in Transit. I hate to say it. Why is Two-Face, one of Batman's greatest rogues, always fucked over in Batman games? Why is he always given the short end of the stick? Trouble in Transit features a top-down driving stage with the Batmobile, and by God, are the controls just terrible. This is one of the worst Batmobile driving stages I've ever played in a Batman game, hands down. Not only are the controls clunky as all hell, but the game adds insult to injury by giving you a time limit to complete the stage, a big middle finger right in your face. And this time limit, oh boy, they just give you just enough to reach the end, with seconds, even milliseconds to spare. And that's if you don't hit too many walls, street corners, and other vehicles. You basically can't fuck up, only a few times. If you hit into something and lose too much speed, or come to a complete stop, you might as well call it quits right there. You won't even make it, trust me. If you do somehow manage to catch up to Two-Face and his goons, you're not done, because there's a whole other section on a highway you must beat as well, with another unforgiving time limit. I'm dead serious. It even ends with a little battle against Two-Face's car. If you die too many times and have to use a continue, you'll have to start the entire level over from the beginning. It's frustrating. This part of the game is without question my least favorite, because it comes down to just trial and error. You have to go as fast as possible to beat the time limits, but that also means less time to process what's coming up in front of you. The civilian vehicles do damage you if you hit them, so yeah, this section is a complete mess. I hate it. Before the start of each level, you get to select which gadgets you want to bring with you, which is kind of a cool idea, but if you forget to bring certain ones in certain stages, then you're going to be making it a lot harder on yourself to complete them. In the Gotham Museum, you'll want to bring the flashlight so you can see the floor mines placed in the hallways. You don't want to have to jump around blindly to dodge them. In the Riddler's maze, make sure to bring the X-ray goggles, as you will need them to locate false walls that you need to destroy with your plastic explosives to proceed. While I enjoy the idea of preparing yourself before each mission, it feels very Batman-like. Sometimes you have too many gadgets in your inventory you need to cycle through. When you're changing between them and end up passing the one you need by mistake, you have to cycle through them all again, rather than just push another button to go back. It's a bit of a nitpick, I admit, but it can be rather annoying at times, especially in Riddler's maze, when you are frequently switching between Batarang to X-ray goggles to plastic explosives. You get the idea. This game is called The Adventures of Batman and Robin, so one would assume you can play as both Batman and Robin, right? But no, only Batman. Robin does aid you in a few of the missions, helping you navigate the museum so you can rescue the various security guards, and even helps you reach Scarecrow's blimp with the Batplane, but outside of that, he isn't playable. I'm not complaining though, because when I play Batman games, I want to play as Batman. I don't really have any intention of playing as anyone else. I assume this game's original title was simply Batman the Animated Series, and they only changed it to The Adventures of Batman and Robin because the show had been retitled to that partway through this game's development. Like I said at the start, The Adventures of Batman and Robin on the Super Nintendo remains one of my favorite superhero games ever made. I think it's an incredibly faithful adaptation of its source material, and every time I play it, I'm overwhelmed with a sense of nostalgia. This was my Batman as a kid, and in many ways, it still is, no matter how many new versions of him come out. This game doesn't have that many levels, and in terms of length, they're relatively short when you really think about it. However, they are each pretty difficult in their own ways. I wouldn't call The Adventures of Batman and Robin an easy game. In order to get all the footage for this review, I utilized level passwords and even a few Game Genie codes in areas, and even still, it's no cakewalk by any stretch of the imagination. The Batmobile stage with those strict as hell time limits and frustrating controls, the awkward swinging with the grapnel gun, the pitfalls in Riddler's chess match, even invincibility cheats won't help you past it all. Eventually, you've got to man up and get good, sonny. This has been NerdGasm. If you've played it, let me know what you thought of The Adventures of Batman and Robin in the comment section down below. Is it one of your favorites too? If you want to help support the channel and everything it is that I do, make sure to subscribe, and if you can, head on over to patreon.com/channelnerdgasm and become a financial backer. It helps make videos like these a reality, and really keeps the YouTube channel, and my YouTube dreams for that matter, alive. Thanks for watching, and I will see all of you in the next one. Take care.